Hey there, I'm Elisa Ali. Tonight it's FUV Live with Lo-Fang. Matthew Hemmerlein is the man behind the moniker Lo-Fang. He's a classically trained musician who likes to experiment with as many different sounds as he can. In fact, he played all of the instruments on his full-length debut, Blue Film. The album touches on a great variety of styles, from pop to krautrock. He recently stopped by WFUV to perform some of his songs and talk about the new record. But before we head into Studio A, let's get a sample from Blue Film. This is When We're Fire by Lo-Fang on WFUV.
Wake up, I've been trying to make your pain stop. This is not just entertainment. I've been trying to let you know. Lately, nothing has been coming easy.
When We're Fire from the album Blue Film by Lo-Fang. Shall I refer to you as Matthew or Matt?
No, you can refer to me as Lo-Fang.
Really? That's how you like to be spoken to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, I like the eyebrows. I like how confused you are.
I'm not confused about that.
For the sake of your confusion, we'll continue doing it, yeah.
I think it's a little bit weird.
I also think so.
Do your friends call you
Yeah.
Lo-Fang? No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
What about your mom?
I don't have friends. That's a true story.
Okay, true story.
Yeah.
Fine. I will tackle this a different way.
Tackle.
There's a way around
The fact that
this.
you're tackling something is impressive to me.
All right, let me do a proper intro. Be
Can I
quiet
just
for
do
a
the
second.
WFUV thing?
Okay, do it.
WFUV.
Public radio. You like that?
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great.
Elisa Ali live in Studio A with the LA-based musician Matthew Hemmerlein. Is it Hemmerlein or Hemmerlein?
No, it's hammer time. The L is pronounced as a T in traditional German, and the N is pronounced as an M. So, yeah, it's actually pronounced hammer time.
Okay. I'm going to call you Fang now.
Great.
Welcome, Fang. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Speaking of Fang and Lo-Fang.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's get right into it. You played all of the instruments on this album.
Mm-hmm.
You are a classically trained musician.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start your training for music?
I mean, if you can call it like training at 5 or so, like,
Sure.
you know, first started playing violin, which, you know, initially is like in Suzuki method of violin.
Yeah, I know Suzuki.
You like start out on like a cream of wheat box, you know, when you're like 4 years old or whatever. And then you get a little...
Cream of wheat. Also. Sorry, go on.
Well, yeah, you have to eat the cream of wheat first. It gets taken out of the box. And they make like, you know, just to get like the arm mechanics down and your fingers moving and you're playing, you know, Mississippi Hot Dog and that kind of thing. And then you just progress from there. So luckily, if you have really solid teachers and they know how to engage you, and also I was lucky because I had siblings who were also doing the same thing as me at that age. So it's kind of all reinforced by that as well. So initially to get the foundation, and then I really just explored and took that ear training and finger training and just kind of went for it. Just like anything that was fascinating to me, like I taught to myself or made versions of and just explored music. I really always had a need for music, and I think that carried with me through to adulthood.
So did you ever stop, or have you ever stopped learning new instruments?
I would consider the studio an instrument at this point, which is also a fascinating thing to think about for me, is like, because you're kind of buzzing around, and also the studio experience from working by myself to then having other people involved and having to articulate what you want. That was like the last instrument, I feel, as though I really like kind of studied or learned, and I got a big education through making this record too.
When you were talking about making the record, you said that there's a mix between sort of a hi-fi versus a lo-fi approach to this, because you're doing a lot of recordings like on your phone or, you know, in your parents' house.
Yeah, even like, I don't want to divulge too many of the secret techniques of
you can keep it vague.
But there's also like, yeah, there's like some sounds of paper bags and doors and like a wooden floor, you know?
Yeah, creaky floorboards.
Yeah, like you're just like, for a kick drum sound, you just like mic the floor and then kick it really hard, and you just get this nice little rattle. Or the beat to Boris was actually made from a lot of different things to make those, even just those one sounds. But it started off as a tom sound and then used the case for the toms as well. And then it was also pens in a jar, but then we were pitching those things around, like pitching it up and down and making it so that like the pitches rose in the drums, so tuned percussion stuff, but it's not even percussion, it's like found percussion sounds. And then, I mean, lots of different, ambient textures in there. And
So you're going to perform the song Boris for us here in Studio A. Did you bring a cup of pens with you to recreate that sound?
No, I mean,
sampled it?
Yeah, we sampled the pens, but I also like that there's pens in a jar like that you find in an office in there because the song's kind of like about corporate sexuality, maybe.
It's like a funky relationship situation.
Funky. That's one way to describe it. I'd say
that's what I think.
It's, oh, wow. It sounds like you've been in some funky relationships. Ooh.
How much time do you have? Anyway.
Oh, dear. We've all had some
we've all lived.
fun. We've all lived. One life to live,
Yeah, you've only got one life to live. Unless you're a cat, then you have 9.
I'm working on that.
So you have a whole crew with you. Now, I was thinking you were going to come in on your own.
Oh.
And like, I'm glad you brought your crew, but I was just thinking you're like one crazy one-man band, one-man army music team of one.
Yeah, of oneness.
Because you made the whole album. Can you play it on your own, or
no? It would be
you could
you can't
sample everything.
I mean, yeah, but
samples.
Like that's true.
It's
but,
not as
but
dynamic to
I wouldn't.
watch.
It's not as dynamic to watch, and I really like playing with 3 people. I feel like odd numbers are really great for live experiences. So it's like playing by yourself is cool, but it's limiting. But there's something about odd numbers, and so it's like a pyramid or something like that, and you can just kind of really communicate, I think, what's on the record, and I wanted to stay as true to that as possible. So right now I've been playing in a trio format, which is being really great, and it's kind of about like that communication between 3 people, which is oftentimes really exciting in music format.
So who are these guys? Introduce. And tell me what they're each playing.
Okay, Dan Marcellus is playing drums and like electronic drum pads and stuff, and he also is totally responsible for all the sampling programming through Ableton. So I built this big sound structure, this record, and then I was like, I'm not good at Ableton, I'm good at Logic. So he's responsible for doing all the electronic programming for the live show, which was like a beast of a job. And Soraya May Wong, who's playing piano and synth and samples, so.
Was it a big sort of like learning process for them? Like when you chose these musicians, did they have to sit down and sort of study this music for a while? Because it's dense.
Yeah, it took a little bit. It took a little bit of time to get it right, and it took time for me to figure out even how to, because some of the stuff you're talking about are like sampling reverse guitar sounds or vocal samples that are chordal vocal stack things, and so you can kind of write that stuff out, but not really. And so some of it, this stuff was just like played into Logic and then written out or whatever, and there's that aspect, but then there's a lot of it that's just kind of like, no, it's this like sound or whatever. So but it came together, so it took a lot of work though. So, and
it's going to come together right now as we get a live performance of Boris here in Studio A from Lo-Fang, or Fang as I like to call him. So hit it, guys.
Said, baby, come up to my office. You played in my party, I owe you some money. You owe me your lips, I'm gonna give tips. I heard your boyfriend's out of town. Baby, aren't you hungry? I could give you codeine, I could give my car keys. Oh, what a cute dress, right now it's useless. I heard your boyfriend's out of town. And you should get out of town too. Yeah, you should get out of town soon. just have fun. We're only your ones. I know your boyfriend's out of town. Baby, where are you going? Don't be such a diva. You know you can't leave now. Oh, what a cute dress. Oh, what a wet mess. I know your boyfriend is out of town. And you should get out of town too. Yeah, you should get out of town soon. Yeah, yeah, you should get out of town too. Oh, you should get out of town too.
A live version of Boris here in Studio A with Lo-Fang. And I am Elisa Ellie talking with Matthew Hammertime. And that song is a cover, Boris. From
It is a
German
cover.
band.
Yeah, boy.
And there are two girls.
I know.
in the band. I love that.
So, yeah, very clever about that. And their album was called Mutual Friends, which felt like a really like temporal Facebook reference, you know. It's like,
Yeah, I see.
yeah.
And you met these guys while you were traveling?
Okay, this is how this worked.
All right.
It's this really fun and low-key little music festival that took place in 2011 in Berlin. And it was like for only like 1,000 people, but The National was playing and Aloe Black and My Brightest Diamond, and they were one of the bands, and then some different DJs. And I was like Wolf and Lamb was doing stuff, and I was also on it and flown into Berlin.
You were on it as Lo-Fang?
No, I was on it as Matthew Hammertime. And like I played the night before, and I came out of my hotel room in a bit of a foggy Berlin state, and like they're playing this song on just guitar and cello, and I was like, that's a really cool song. So like I started messing around with it, and then cut to like 2 years later, over 2 years later, they were playing a show across from Capitol Records where I was finishing the record that I was making. And
in LA.
I was outside on the roof overlooking, you know, Vine, and I see them downstairs. So I come running downstairs and I was like, hey, I know this sounds crazy, but I did a version of one of your songs. Do you want to come upstairs and look at it? And then like their handlers, because they're German, they thought I was like nuts. And they were like, yeah, it's pretty cool, but like don't do this. And like, and they just like treated me like I was crazy. And I was like, no, like I was trying to communicate to them that I wasn't a psycho, but I didn't do a very good job. Yeah.
Interesting.
And so like, okay, here's a card, gets the hell out of here.
Well, that's unfortunate. There was that translation breakdown, or that lack of that
I
breakdown
know.
in communication.
I know, right? I was like,
that's
I
really-
tried. The fact that I got so excited too, because I was like, that's them. And I just booked it down. Like,
That's disappointing.
okay, so, and I think the thing that caused my illegitimacy was like that the front of Capitol Records, they closed their doors on Vine at like 6. And I came out the side door, which is like where the parking lot is, and so they couldn't see me come out of
from
the
anywhere, right?
exactly. Like if I had just walked right out of the doors and the
Yeah.
doors opened, so I was like, I initially tried that, and the doors were open. I felt like I was in like some sort of Patrick Swayze movie where like glass windows, or is he in that or whatever? I don't know. It feels like he should have been. Anyways, so
But-
maybe they'll hear this and then hear the song
Yeah.
or have heard the song.
Well, they
and
must
like,
know about it because you probably had to ask permission to do it.
I mean, I
Or,
didn't.
oops, somebody should go
Some-
back and do that at this point.
Oh, sorry guys.
oh well.
Oh well.
So the big story surrounding you is
Uh-huh.
that this record was made as you traveled throughout the world and throughout the country, right?
That's true. Yeah.
You know that's
People,
the big story.
I know. I was surprised
people
by
talking.
it. I was surprised
People
when
talking
initially
about
this started to turn into the thing. I was like, okay, it was fun when it was going on, but I thought that it was relatively unremarkable, to be honest. But it was really cool, like that it was going on. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty cool that you got a chance to do so much traveling.
sure.
Yeah.
I feel like people travel more than me and don't get it as like kind of as like, oh, this.
I've traveled so much more than you, yet I've not made a record, so it's not that noteworthy.
Dang.
It's okay.
You gotta make the record. That's the thing.
I know.
You can't just like bob around. And,
I know. But here's what I want to talk about with traveling.
Please.
I've read an interview where you were talking about how you use the experiences from traveling, and that is what influenced your songs or particular experiences.
Yeah, particular experiences undoubtedly influence certain songs. Like I can pinpoint very specific things, and oftentimes the initial like verse lyrics were a lot more specific rather than universal as far as what I was referring to. And then so definitely like a song like 88, which
you're gonna play that, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna play 88.
If you don't mind me asking, what part of 88 was inspired by? And this was written. The very first was written in Cambodia.
Yeah, the beginning was written in Cambodia.
A little holiday in Cambodia there.
I was in Angkor Wat and Phnom Penh, and just very specific aspects of like the culture and the, for lack of a better term, spiritual energy surrounding those places had an effect on me, as I think anybody who's been there would have an effect. I don't think it's any different than other people's experiences when they go.
So it affected you in a visceral sense?
Absolutely. Like it's a very like, I mean this in a more technical way, but it's a very sensual place. Both like, that doesn't mean good or bad. It just means there's a lot of your olfactory senses and auditory and all those things are being attuned in a different way. It's like a place of triumph in a way, like, because it's obviously been a lot of tough things that have occurred, like in a lot of different cultures and nations. And so, but there's a palpable optimism and there's a palpable like lightness to people's being there that was really, really affected me.
Well, let's hear that song if you don't mind.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay.
but they still disrupt my sleep. An idea growing quietly from something within spreads quicker than the cancer that destroyed your mother's skin. And it feels like a shadow at about 5 a.m. when the streets are still empty and the fragile can't pretend. Get me out of the city, get me back to the trees. If this dream wasn't happening, would it still feel as real? Or will it always stay the same? It always stays the same. Does it ever change? Or does it always feel the same? It always feels the same.
A live version of number 88 here in Studio A from Lo-Fang. That is a song that's featured on the new record Blue Film, which is the full-length debut from Lo-Fang. So that is a bit of an opus. I love that song. It's so good.
Thank you.
That's probably my favorite song from the record.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's long, too.
It is long.
So you said you started it in Cambodia. You finished it up in L.A.
Yeah.
Why did you feel like you needed to add more? It didn't feel complete to you, did it?
Yeah. Well, it was
like
actually
7 minutes long.
Yeah, it's like 7 minutes long. In that case, it felt complete to me, and then I co-produced this record with an Australian producer named Francois Tataz, who's wonderful to work with.
He worked with Gautier.
He did work with Gautier, and he was like, "You need to write another section connecting what is the A and the C section now." He was like, "Just do something, like come up with something." And I worked on it, and how that occurred was I like the end reverse guitar part that was like da na 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 na. So I just took that melodic shape and then kind of twisted it around and took it in a different place, but kept that framework, and then that's what came out, and then arranged the strings around that piano line, and then that bass line ended up back in the first section for like the little drop back into the last chorus of the first section.
You like talking music theory, huh?
I
like it.
That didn't get too theoretical.
No, it didn't. But
Okay.
I'm just saying, from speaking to you,
Yeah.
it's very obvious that you know so much about music.
Oh,
It's true.
that's very
yeah.
sweet of you to say.
So let me ask you this,
Thank you.
and I want to find out who you think is sort of the smartest musician.
Oh my God.
Arrangement style.
Oh.
Like arrangement wise.
Arrangement-wise?
Yeah.
Or
Or who do you admire?
who do I admire? I really admire John Bryan. He's done so many great scores and produced a lot of great records, and he's just great at arranging. It's always really tasteful and not syrupy, and it's not overdone. And so I was like really I was a huge fan of Danny Elfman. Like, had my Nightmare Before Christmas boxers, just like forever, and like all those action figures and stuff. And so, and I love everything that he's done. And I think that, like, for sure, I'd say those two people are a big. Those are modern people that are definitely like a big influence on me.
So, Matthew?
Yeah.
Fang?
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much for coming into
No
Studio
problem.
A. I had so much fun talking to you.
Thanks. I had a great time talking to you. It was really fun.
You know, but the way you said that doesn't really seem like
That is actually,
that sincere?
believe it or not, that was actually really sincere. I was trying to
Okay.
downplay it because
You
I
did
didn't
it
want to be
very
like.
deadpan.
I know that's.
I don't know why you did
when
that.
I'll work on that. But
That's okay.
it was heartfelt.
Okay.
But I just like
I'll take it.
sometimes I feel like I'm yeah.
It's like when you tell a joke and someone says, "That's funny," instead of laughing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's how that felt.
It felt a little
That's
bit
not
like
how it felt in here.
that. Okay, good.
And now I'm trying to animate my voice
You're
more.
so animated right
so
now.
yeah. It
It's
was
amazing.
like I really.
Okay.
I actually had a great time talking with you. It was amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay. Well, thank you.
really
I'm sorry I had
appreciate
to
it.
force you to say that.
No,
But
that wasn't a force. That was like
No. It's
I was
great.
trying to play it cool because I had so much fun. So I was just like, oh yeah, I had fun too. Like,
Yeah. No, that was cool.
I was playing it cool.
Yeah. Okay. You're very cool, Matt.
Thanks.
Theo, Fang, and come back for your second album.
Yeah, I will.
Good. But right now the album Blue Film is out, so check it out. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Lo-Fang has been our guest on tonight's FUV Live. His new album, Blue Film, is out now, and you can catch him at Barry Ballroom on the 27th of this month. You can listen and watch tonight's show along with me.